A woman God protects has a strength that confuses people because it doesn't come from loudness, anger, or force. It comes from a place the world cannot see. Her strength is built in the secret place. Those quiet, sacred moments when she is alone with God. People see her smile, but they don't see the nights she poured her heart out to heaven. They see her courage, but they don't hear the whispered prayers that held her together when life tried to break her. They see her standing, but they don't know how many times she fell on her knees first. There is something powerful about a woman who runs to God before she runs to anyone else. When the world tries to overwhelm her with burdens, she doesn't crumble. She closes her door, wipes her face, and says, "Lord, I need you." And right there, in that hidden place, God strengthens her. He breathes peace into her spirit, wipes the fear from her heart, and reminds her of who she is, his daughter. Other people might depend on approval, relationships, or their own abilities, but she depends on God. Her confidence doesn't come from compliments. It comes from conversation with her Creator. Her peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from knowing God is in control. Her strength doesn't come from what she carries. It comes from who carries her. And because her strength comes from God, evil people can't understand why their attacks don't work. They can't figure out why their manipulation falls flat. They can't comprehend why she keeps getting back up, stronger than before. It's because her strength wasn't built in public. It was built in prayer. She learned that every tear becomes fuel when you hand it to God. Every heartbreak becomes a lesson. Every disappointment becomes preparation. She doesn't flaunt her strength. She walks in it quietly. And God honors that. He covers her, protects her, and lifts her. When she kneels, heaven stands for her. When she prays, angels move. When she cries, God listens. And every time she rises from the floor, she rises with a strength no evil can break, and no darkness can touch. Her strength is not loud, but it is unstoppable. A woman protected by God carries something in her spirit that most people can't explain. She has this built-in warning system, this spiritual radar that starts buzzing long before danger ever shows up. While others get fooled by smooth words, fake kindness, or charming smiles, she can feel something is off before anyone else notices. It's not anxiety, it's discernment. It's God whispering to her spirit, "Pay attention. Something here is not from me." She may not always know what is wrong, but she can feel when a person's energy is not right, when their intentions aren't clean, when their heart doesn't match their words. She senses when someone is trying to use her, deceive her, or drain her. She doesn't need proof or explanation because the Holy Spirit becomes her early warning system. And the more she listens, the more accurate her spirit becomes. Sometimes she walks into a room and immediately knows she doesn't belong there. She may feel uncomfortable around certain people and not understand why, but God does. And he protects her by letting her feel that discomfort so she won't settle in a place that wasn't meant for her. She pulls back from relationships before they destroy her. She says no, without needing a long reason. She lets people go even when others think she's overreacting. But she's not overreacting. She's being guided. There are moments when she can sense someone's true colors without them saying a word. The tone of their voice, the shift in the atmosphere, the heaviness in her spirit. She notices things that others overlook. And when she steps away from someone, it's not out of fear, it's out of obedience. She has learned that ignoring that inner voice always costs more later. So she trusts it. She trusts God. Evil people hate this about her. They don't understand how she caught on so fast. They don't know how she can see through their act before the mask slips. They don't realize that she's not relying on her natural eyes. She's hearing from God. And when God reveals something, no lie can hide, no motive can disguise itself, no manipulation can survive. Her discernment becomes her shield. It guards her mind, her peace, her future. It keeps her out of traps, keeps her from falling for counterfeits, and keeps her aligned with the path God set for her. Because a woman who listens to God moves differently. She avoids battles she was never meant to fight, danger she was never meant to face, and people who were never meant to stay. And that inner voice, that spiritual sensitivity, becomes one of God's greatest gifts to her protection. One of the clearest signs that a woman is protected by God is when people start leaving her life. Sometimes suddenly, sometimes painfully, sometimes without explanation. And while she may not understand it in the moment, heaven knows exactly what it's doing. God will remove people she refuses to let go of. He will break connections she didn't have the strength to break herself. He will close doors she kept trying to open because he saw what she could not see. There are times when she cries over someone's absence, not realizing that their presence was quietly poisoning her spirit. She mourns relationships that drained her, friendships that used her, people who smiled in her face while secretly hoping she would fail. But God saw the envy she didn't catch. He heard conversations behind her back that she didn't know about. He saw the betrayal coming long before it reached her. And because he loves her, he steps in. So when someone walks away, she may think she lost something. But heaven whispers, "No, daughter, I just saved you." She didn't lose a blessing. She lost a burden. She didn't lose a friend. She lost a threat. She didn't lose love. She lost a distraction. God knows how attached the heart can become, even to the wrong things. So he intervenes, he interrupts, he separates. And sometimes he does it abruptly because slow separation would only pull her deeper into what he is trying to free her from. There are seasons when everyone she thought she needed begins to drift away. Calls stop. Messages slow down. People change. And she wonders, why is everyone leaving me? But the truth is, God is not leaving her. He is surrounding her by subtracting. He's clearing the atmosphere around her so she can breathe again. He's removing voices that confuse her and people who contaminate her spirit. He's making room for those who will honor her, support her, pray for her, and speak life into her. Some people aren't bad. They're just not assigned to her destiny. Others are bad. They smile with their mouth, but carry darkness in their heart. God separates her from both. Because when He protects a woman, He doesn't just guard her physically, He guards her emotionally, spiritually, and purposefully. He removes what lacks integrity. He removes what drains her. He removes what distracts her from the calling He placed on her life. And though she may not see it immediately, a time always comes when she looks back and says, "Thank God they left." What once felt like loss now looks like rescue. What once felt like heartbreak now looks like mercy. What once felt like rejection now looks like divine protection. Because God will never take something out of her life without planning to replace it with something stronger, purer, safer, and aligned with her destiny. A woman protected by God becomes untouchable the moment she discovers her worth, her real worth, the worth heaven placed inside her before she was even born. She stops measuring herself by who accepted her or rejected her, by what someone said, or by how someone treated her. She begins to understand that her value was determined by God, not by people. And when a woman knows who she is in God, manipulation loses its power. Lies lose their influence. Toxic people lose their control. She is no longer impressed by empty words. She is no longer moved by shallow affection. She no longer tolerates disrespect dressed up as love. When a woman knows her worth, she stops begging for the bare minimum. She stops shrinking herself to fit into places she's outgrown. She stops bending to keep people who were never meant to stay. She stops apologizing for having standards that protect her peace, her heart, and her identity. People may call her strong, difficult, or stubborn. But she's not any of those things. She's aware. She's aware of what she carries, aware of who she belongs to, aware of what she deserves. And awareness changes everything. She used to let people talk to her any kind of way. Now she walks away from it. She used to let people treat her like an option. Now she knows she is God's priority. She used to settle for pieces of love. Now she waits for love that mirrors God's heart. Evil people hate a woman who knows her worth because they can't use her anymore. They can't manipulate her emotions, guilt, trip her, or play with her kindness. She sees through their games because she finally recognizes the value of her spirit, her time, and her presence. She stops pouring into people who never pour back. She stops chasing after people who never intended to stay. She stops allowing people to access her who only came to drain her. Knowing her worth doesn't make her arrogant. It makes her confident. She walks with a quiet assurance, a steady calm that comes from God reminding her, "Daughter, you are chosen. You are loved. You are mine. And when she believes that, something shifts. She stops searching for validation because she already carries it. She stops looking for permission because God already gave her purpose. She stops doubting herself because his voice becomes louder than her fears. She begins to show love without losing herself. She gives without being taken advantage of. She forgives without becoming a doormat. She becomes gentle, but not weak. Kind, but not naive. Humble, but not invisible. Her worth becomes a shield that blocks out every person who comes with bad intentions. People who don't value her simply fade away because they can no longer function in the presence of someone who finally knows she is valuable. And through it all, she doesn't just walk like she knows her worth. She walks like she knows who placed that worth inside her. That is why she is protected. That is why she cannot be destroyed. That is why evil people lose access the moment she realizes she is a daughter of the King. A woman protected by God never walks alone, even when she feels like she's by herself. There is a covering over her life that goes far beyond what her eyes can see. She may appear ordinary to the world, but in the spiritual realm, she is surrounded by divine backup. Doors open for her that she never touched. Traps fall apart before she reaches them. Attacks lose power before they ever land. Not because she is lucky, because she is covered. There are battles she didn't know she avoided, dangers she didn't know were coming, and enemies she never knew were plotting. God blocked them all. He stood between her and what was meant to destroy her. While she slept, he fought. While she worked, he shielded. While she cried, he sent angels to stand guard around her. She may not see the warfare happening in the background, but she feels the peace that comes from knowing she is not fighting alone. Even in the moments when life feels overwhelming, when she feels tired, confused, or unsure of what comes next, something in her spirit keeps her standing. That something is God's strength carrying her. She walks through storms that should have drowned her, yet she remains steady. She faces situations that should have broken her, yet she rises. She experiences heartbreak that could have hardened her, yet her heart still loves, still hopes, still believes. That is divine backup. People may wonder how she keeps making progress despite everything thrown at her. They may wonder how she smiles after seasons meant to destroy her. They may wonder how she keeps her faith when her world shakes. They don't understand that she is not relying on her own power. She has supernatural help. Where others fall apart, she finds grace. Where others lose their way, she receives direction. Where others see obstacles, she finds favor. God aligns the right people at the right time to uplift her. He places encouragers in her path, sends opportunities that match her purpose, and removes distractions that slow her down. He positions her exactly where she needs to be, not because she planned perfectly, but because heaven orchestrated her steps. Every time she thought she was alone, she wasn't. Every time she thought she was abandoned, God was working behind the scenes. She may not hear the roar of angels or see the hand of God physically reaching out, but she feels the evidence. She feels it when peace settles over her in the middle of chaos. She feels it when strength rises inside her out of nowhere. She feels it when she walks away from situations that once controlled her. She feels it when she realizes she survived things that should have taken her out. And because she carries divine backup, evil people cannot place chains on her. They cannot destroy what God protects. They cannot block what God decreed. They cannot sabotage what heaven is guiding. She walks with a covering that darkness cannot penetrate, a protection that evil cannot break, and a strength that does not come from earth. She is guarded, guided, lifted, and surrounded because God Himself goes before her, walks beside her, and stands behind her. A woman protected by God carries a kind of peace that doesn't make sense to the people who try to disrupt it. Evil people become uncomfortable around her because they can't penetrate her spirit. They can't drain her joy the way they expected. They can't shake her the way they planned. They come with chaos, but she stays calm. They come with gossip, but she stays grounded. They come with manipulation, but she doesn't bend. And this unsettles them because their usual tactics don't work on someone shielded by heaven. Her peace isn't ordinary, it's spiritual. It's the kind of peace that settles on her heart, even when her circumstances aren't perfect. It's the kind of peace that whispers, "You are safe," even when trouble tries to find her. It's the kind of peace that keeps her steady when everyone else is falling apart. Evil people don't know how to respond to that. They expect reactions, drama, fear, or anger. Instead, she responds with stillness that exposes their intentions and disarms their plans. She doesn't raise her voice. She raises her spirit. She doesn't argue with foolishness. She steps away from it. She doesn't try to prove her worth. She rests in it. She has learned that when God is fighting for her, she doesn't have to fight the same way she used to. She's not moved by every insult or provoked by every attempt to bring her down. Her peace becomes a boundary. Her peace becomes a shield. Her peace becomes a message that says, "I belong to God, and you can't touch what He protects." Evil people thrive on chaos, but she doesn't give them any. They try to push her into emotional corners, but she stays centered. They try to create storms around her, but she carries an inner calm that no wind can shake. They try to provoke her into losing control, but she's anchored in something deeper. She's anchored in God's presence, God's promises, and God's purpose. That kind of grounding stops every attack before it starts. There are moments when she walks into environments filled with tension, and without saying anything, the atmosphere shifts. Not because she's loud or forceful, but because the peace she carries convicts, exposes, and unsettles what is not from God. People with hidden motives become nervous around her. People with harmful intentions feel exposed in front of her. People who came to disturb her spirit end up disturbed by her holiness, her calmness, her unshakable trust in God. She doesn't have to defend herself because her peace speaks for her. It speaks of protection. It speaks of grace. It speaks of someone who has been refined by storms and held by God. Evil people can't stand too close because her peace reveals their turmoil. They can't manipulate her because her peace gives her clarity. They can't confuse her because her peace keeps her focused. They can't break her because her peace keeps her whole. Her peace becomes a light in dark places and a warning siren to people with wrong intentions. This one is covered. This one is guarded. This one walks with God.